What's up, everyone, and welcome to Clear Talk. We are at the fire pit, and I wanted to give an update. I wanted to give an update on what happened over the weekend as far as the delegation talks with the after the memorandum of understanding, what went down, what are still problems and issues that we know of at this time. So yeah, that's what we're going to do in this video. So thank you very much for joining me here. If you are new to the channel, welcome. If you'd like to check out more from this channel or any of my other channels, there are links in the description down below. So check them out. Consider subscribing, like, share, comment, all the good stuff. It's free for you, helps out the channels tremendously. If you'd like to give any kind of support, there is a merch store now. You can check out that link in the description to merch for any of the channels that you would like to support. If you want discounts on that merch, then go to Patreon, become a Patreon member. $2, you can support any of the channels you like and get that discount for the merch. So along with private communities and other goodies and stuff over there. So check that out. And if you're returning, you're freaking amazing. Welcome back. And keep coming back, because you're what makes JMD Nation. Okay, so with that out of the way, the quick minute to win it. All right, so as we know, the U.S. and Iran did the Memorandum of Understanding last week. It was signed. They were supposed to get together Friday to start, because they actually signed it ahead of time. Trump signed it at the G7 event. I think it was on Wednesday or Thursday that he signed it, right there in front of Macron and several other people. So that was, real good PR stunt for him there, as far as signing that was concerned. And there was reports that there was going to start talks for, the 60 days talks, potentially even starting that Friday, kind of going ahead and doing that. They were supposed to send, I think, Witkoff and Kushner was already on the way. J.D. Vance was supposed to be sent on the way, but then they held up his flight to go out because of the continued action of Israel and Lebanon, and that that they were continuing to do attacks on territory in Lebanon, and of course Hezbollah was returning the favor, even though it's being reported like Hezbollah, I'm sorry, I said Hezbollah was returning the favor. It's been reported that Hezbollah, even from J.D. Vance, that Hezbollah is the Iran needs to get Hezbollah under control because they attack and then Israel has to defend itself. That's bullshit. That was straight bullshit. We know that Israel is the one that does the initiation of all the conditions that they're doing in Lebanon, and Hezbollah is just defending its homeland. That's what's happening right now. And to act like Israel needs to defend itself because it sets up a security protection zone, which is just occupying parts of another country. I mean, if you want a buffer zone, then create the buffer zone in your own damn country. Instead of having all of these towns and stuff. If you're so concerned about Hezbollah being over the border and how threatening they are, then why do you have all these towns and stuff all around the edge of border of Israel up on the northern border? Like, there's multiple towns all through there. But no, they want the right to have, those people have the right to have those towns and have that area, and that not be a security issue. So they want to take over other sovereign land of another country to create a buffer zone. That's the Israeli way. Okay, so and because of that, Iran was basically threatening to cancel the talks, cancel the negotiations, and even threatened to potentially even attack Israel again, and holding that right to do so because it was becoming clear that the United States could not control Israel, that Trump was not controlling Israel. They had a week there to get them to stop, and they weren't stopping. And guess what? Even today, they still haven't stopped. Even though there's supposed to be a ceasefire between Lebanon, between Hezbollah and Israel, they're still carrying out operations. Israel claims that they were pulling back their offensive operations, but they would maintain their defensive operations, from which I can tell every operation they do, they claim is defensive. So I don't even know what operations they quote unquote were claiming were offensive. So outside of maybe the attacks that they were doing in southern Beirut, maybe that's what they were talking about, that they would stop bombing Beirut, but they were going to continue their occupation and destruction all throughout the southern Lebanon, and retaliatory, gunfire and operations and stuff against Hezbollah when they wanted to, quote unquote retaliatory. So yes, that condition is still remaining even today. But because of the quote unquote ceasefire agreement, Iran did come to the table, and they had the beginnings of talks Sunday, which Vance was included in. It seemingly was going pretty well, even from reports from Iranian officials that it was going very well, until Trump gets online and starts throwing threats out that if they didn't do what they were asked of and that weren't going to agree to things, that we would go back to bombing them, and that they may not even make it back to Iran, and like threatening even the negotiators. Absolutely insanity. Just because he wants to sound like a tough guy. So when that started happening, Iran said, whoa, wait a minute. Okay, like, we're trying to have these conversations here with y'all in like, good faith. And your leader is sitting out here on social media threatening not only our country, but even threatening us. And that's not cool. Like, how can we continue these talks when your leader is doing this? So they left. They backed out and did not come back for the remainder of that day. Even though Vance got out there and was, when asked about them walking out, he was like, no, they didn't walk out. They just it was just a break time, and then we had further talks and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, according to other reports, that was not the case. Vance once again straight up lied to the U.S. media. Iran officials and negotiators straight up said, yes, we walked out. We were not going to accept being threatened when we're trying to have good faith, honest, negotiations. And when your leader is out here threatening us, I mean, that's just absolutely, like, why would we accept that? We're not going to accept it. So, and Iran also turned around and argued that they were, which I think was actually in response to Israel continuing, even as of Saturday and Sunday, they were continuing their operations, that they were going to shut the Strait of Hormuz back down. Now, from what I can tell at this point, it doesn't seem that the strait has been completely shut back down, but what it appears to have happened is that Iran and Oman, now they have been talking about this joint venture in like controlling those waterway, that water area, their territorial rights for that strait, the Oman side and the Iran side, and they've been in talks about the plans and stuff for the future of that. And so what it's looking like is that there is a more controlled effort by Iran as far as how ships are getting through, and more management and guidance for what ships are going through, instead of just this open, okay, they can flow thing. So that's what it looks like to me at this point. I don't think it is, quote, shut down. But there's still numbers that, and while there are numbers of like 30, 40 ships or so a day getting through, that's still well short of the like 150 ships a day that were passing through there on a daily basis. So it good, but still a bit of a problem there. Now, I don't know what has happened. I think talks have continued a little bit more yesterday and today, but we have had talks were supposed to start today in Washington between the U.S., Lebanon, and Israel, and trying to find a agreement, ceasefire to like further the ceasefire, which was supposed to be along the lines, from what I could understand, of Israel like making this slow progressive move back, or like to pull back troops from certain areas that they have pushed forward on, as long as Lebanese army it's like takes over those areas, and an agreement from Hezbollah to back down. I don't know how well that's going to work from many points, because I don't see Israel actually legitimately backing troops out, because they have stated numerous times from multiple people that they were not going to do so. I also don't see the Lebanese army being strong enough to be able to, quote unquote, like take over those areas. And I also don't see Hezbollah agreeing to just back down. So these talks are supposed to take place between today and Thursday. It's supposed to be the 23rd through the 25th at these talks, to try to work out some sort of agreement. So we're going to have to see how that pans out. And this, of course, is all being developed all at the same time. You have Iran trying to have talks in Switzerland over the agreement. We have talks continuation. We're trying to work out something between Lebanon and Israel and Hezbollah. Again, Israel is bound and determined to stay there and continue actions against Hezbollah as an act of defense. But now, on top of that, the UN, a UN Special Council Advisory Board, something, released investigative findings against Israel, proving even more so the act of genocide that they have committed between Gaza and the West Bank, centered around the purposeful death, the purposeful killing of children. And this is devastating for Israel. It is everywhere from precision shots, shots made to purposefully hit vital organs of children, killing them, to the coordination around controlling humanitarian aid throughout this period, which is called malnutrition of children, to detention centers, the abuse and stuff, like just physical abuse to sexual abuse of children in the detention centers that are holding children, and many other things. I mean, even broken down to when talking about the precision, like purposeful attacks, purposeful killings of children. They have literally listings of down to the exact Israeli IDF unit that committed the atrocity and what they did. I mean, it is a very good report. A very good report. So you can look at that. And that in itself, as soon as I saw that, I thought, okay, this is going to be something that is going to allow Iran to bring Gaza into the conversation, because there has been a lot of pushback, even from the Arab nations, or like from even the argument around Lebanon, that, okay, well, why are you only concerning Lebanon? Why are you only concerning Hezbollah? Why are you not also bringing Gaza into these talks, into these negotiations, and trying to work something around that? And they have made the argument, okay, well, yes, we have a purposeful, direct argument for Hezbollah, but Gaza is a sort of different thing. There is a lot more nuance and control, and with the newfound Board of Peace and all these other conditions around Gaza. And so that kind of makes it hard for us to really try to say or bring up Gaza in this. That's what their argument was previously, to some degree. But now, with this report coming out, there have now been sources that have stated that today Iran had a phone call with the head of Hamas, and stated that they were now going to bring up Gaza and the conditions of Palestinians in Gaza and what Israel has been doing to Palestinians in Gaza. They were going to bring that up now in negotiations and try to push forward some sort of agreement around the Palestinian movement, the Palestinian conditions. And even though it wasn't stated to have anything to do with this UN investigation report that was released, but I think that more than likely had something to do with it, and it gives them it gives them something to use substantively to push for something. Now, whether or not anything will be agreed upon, that's a different thing, but that does give another note, something else to push back against on the topic of Israel and what they are doing. The piling up of all these atrocities, all these humanitarian crimes, all these war crimes, all these things and actions and aggression that Israel is doing, it's just piling up and piling up and piling up and piling up. I mean, we already have a growing sentiment in this nation, in the United States, that Israel is a thorn in our side, and Israel is causing more problems than they are, quote unquote, solving for themselves. So I think this is a good argument for Iran to bring that up, and a good possibility of actually potentially doing something that will enforce some kind of change in Gaza, possibly. So that is an interesting development. We're going to have to see. We're going to have to see what happens going forward. Hopefully there will be a continuation of talks, a continuation of calm, at least between Iran and U.S. I hope that there is a continuation of pressure on Israel, and because at this point, I mean, there needs to be a full-on just singling out of Israel as a serious problem, and cutting off of everything and anything and everything to get them to get in line. But we're gonna have to see, because even though Trump has made some pretty aggressive comments towards Netanyahu and about Israel, and so has Vance, in the late days. But then Trump turns around and starts talking all positive and how good Netanyahu person he is, or and how good he is for Israel, and blah 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 blah. And then turns around and brings again the sort of threats that he was bringing on Sunday on Iran, which I can't help but think was probably pushed by the likes of Israel lobby, Netanyahu, or whatever. So it's the whiplash effect that even Trump still has on this issue, and many other issues for that matter. So we're going to have to see what happens going forward. And again, I'm pushing and hoping for a relief of the hostilities, a continuation to negotiate and talk everything out, even if it winds up basically looking just like the CPOA. I don't care, because quite frankly, that's what we need. We should have never got out of that. Should never ripped it up. We should have never went to war. This was completely costly and a waste of taxpayer money, a waste of resources, a waste of time, a waste of economical strain on the entire global economy, and the oil industry and everything. It's just a complete waste, and that we lost. We lost, and they need to just accept that. And at this point, anything Iran asks for at this point, we damn near need to just give it to them, because that's what happens when you lose. And Israel needs to accept that they also lost. And but that one's going to be harder met than even the U.S. So we'll have to see what comes in the remainder of this week and throughout the weekend. So thank you very much for joining me. Let me know what you think, and until next time, peace, clear talk. I'm out.